Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redmen TV. And it is your latest Liverpool transfer news update. I'm Dan Clubb, and I will be your host for this one. And we're going to talk about some of the rumours, some of the speculation doing the rounds today in the world of the Reds. We're going to talk about some possible ins as well as some possible outs. But the main focus of our attention is going to be Romeo Lavia. Now, this follows on from a conversation I had just yesterday. So feel free to get involved in the chat. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions on the way. Let me know who we should be signing and who we should be avoiding. I've seen some of you already have been doing that before we even went live. Some good old chat about FSG, some healthy FSG debate. That's what we like to see. Good afternoon to you, Dave, as well. And yeah, Eid Mubarak as well. I can see a few of them in there. And yeah, happy Eid to all those celebrating that particular celebration today. Yeah, well done. Matthew Digham says, hi, Dan. I'm what? What are you? PK Ghost Hunters. I wanted to see your comment from just before we went live. There we go. Found it. When today, next week, last day of the window, or we're going to get a crappy loan deal on the final day. Yeah, well, I want to talk to you about when we might be making that move for Romeo Lavia during the course of the next 20 minutes or so, something like that. But yeah, let's have a good old chat. About it, shall we, while we're here. Before we do that, though, I want to bring you a little segment from my conversation with Belgian football journalist Sasha Tavlieri just yesterday. Now, this followed on from Fabio Romano reporting about Liverpool's interest in Lavia and a conversation I had about a month or so ago with Sasha. So, yeah, have a listen to this and then we'll talk about it when we come back.
They will make an offer, but they didn't make it factually. So formal offer hasn't been done for the moment, but everyone is confident that it will be the case. If it's not this week, it will be next week. This is something really concrete. And as I told you, fact is that the relationship between between Liverpool and Southampton will make the things a bit more smooth for a conversation. So talks have already been done, but a formal offer, I cannot confirm it.
Yeah, so just a little snippet of my conversation with Sasha there. And he gave us a lot of information on the potential deal, actually. And he was very honest about it. He told us there have been no formal offers made just yet. He did also talk about the very strong interest coming from Arsenal. Chelsea really liked the player too. So it wasn't just a Liverpool loving about, oh yeah, I'm sure Liverpool will sign him, etc., etc. It was a very honest conversation. There's a lot more of that on our YouTube channel available to you as well, over on Redmen TV too. And also, that the entire show is on Redmen Plus, of course, as well as our Bobby Doc stuff, which if you haven't watched already, what are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for? We got some optimism in the chat from Liverpool Charlie. He's not worried at all because the groundwork on at least 3 signings is done, so there'll be 3 incoming soon. I certainly hope you're right. And it's been an interesting window, really, for Liverpool so far because obviously we had the crazy excitement and optimism around the Alexis McAllister signing. Like that happened straight away, and we all thought, here we go. Like we mean business. There's going to be 3 or 4 more to follow dead quickly. And obviously there's sort of the Thuram stuff, the Kone stuff, even Gravenberch, Veiga, Van der Ven, I've seen people talking about in the chat as well. All that followed really quickly. And it felt like within the space of a fortnight, we might have all our business done and we can relax for the rest of the summer. But for various reasons, obviously hasn't materialised like that. And I think probably a big part of that reason might be the under-21 Euros just going on right now, because we know Thuram, we know he isn't going to solve his future until after that competition's finished. He's already spoken about that. That's actually on advice from his dad, Lillian, who knows a thing or two about footy. So there's various reasons why we haven't been able to get our targets through the door just yet. So yeah, let's just see. But for now, let's just have a good old chat about the Reds and Lavia, of course. And Olia Red 99 starts us off with, if you want some hope, Lavia will be a good signing for CDM for ball winning and ball retention. He was up there last season. He was up there with the best mids in the league. He was better than Fabinho in nearly all stats last season. And yeah, he's a really interesting profile as a player. He's obviously only 19 years old, and he comes from, or would come from, recently relegated Southampton. So I guess there's a bit of a stigma attached to recently relegated footballers, but we as Liverpool fans should know that we should probably drop that stigma, because Andy Robertson, Gino Wijnaldum, and to a degree, Xherdan Shaqiri all worked out to be pretty successful for us, and they came from recently relegated clubs. So it's an interesting one, the Lavia stuff. He's obviously only 19. That is very, very young, but he had a really impressive season last year. There is interest from Arsenal, like I said, but they look like they might get the Declan Rice deal done. I've seen Man City dropping out of that race. Chelsea are also very keen. They might get the Moises Caicedo deal done. And I know people will be screaming at me now saying we should be going after those two and not Lavia. I don't know if we're actually desperate for a six to come in and play every single minute of every single game. I still think there's hope that Fabinho will return to something like his best. And someone like Lavia might be a bit of it'd be cover for Fabinho a bit more. And I know we got Stefan Bajcetic. That's actually a more interesting conversation, the Bajcetic one, than Lavia himself, because I really like Lavia. And I think he's a ball-playing six who would work really well in our new system. I think he makes a lot of sense. And he had a really good season despite Southampton struggling so badly. But the Bajcetic chat and what it does in terms of his pathway is actually more interesting than whether Lavia himself would be a good signing, in my opinion. I'll go through some more of your comments as well, see what you guys think. Footy Boy says, where is a link to become a member of the channel? I'm pretty sure it's in the chat, it's in the comments. If not, we'll get it to you. We'll find it for you somehow. I'm pretty sure it will be there. What's this saying? Dave says, if we get Lavia, Thuram and Van der Ven, how would you rate this transfer window out of 10? If we got those three from now, that's a solid 8.5 for me. That'd be as your left-footed centre-back, which I think we desperately need. Thuram, I think, is the one, personally. Like, after McAllister, of course, when we knew Bellingham was off the cards, I think McAllister was priority number 1. I'd have Thuram as priority number 2. So if we got those two through the door, I'd be ecstatic. And yet Lavia, like I say, I think he makes a lot of sense. I think he could play in one of the 8 roles. He's more suited to the 6. And I think long-term, he could be a successor to your Fabinho's, because although I mentioned Bajcetic in the 6, I think there might be an inclination for Liverpool to try him in one of the 8 as well. I think we're going to have a group of midfielders, sort of bar Fabinho, who can all play in various different roles. And that's a very healthy position to be in. So, yeah, and Van der Ven, he wouldn't be my first choice as a left-footed centre-half. It'd probably be someone like Inácio I want to talk about a little bit later. The Sporting Lisbon, of course. But we do need one. We absolutely need one. And the reason it wouldn't be higher than an 8.5 is because I actually think we need a right-sided centre-back as well. When we were linked with Jurrien Timber, who looks like he's going to be going to Arsenal now, I was made up with that. I think he makes a lot of sense for us. So if we signed one of them, made up, and if we signed a attacker as well, because I think we might need one more very young option in attack potentially as well. Anyway, moving on. Football Edit says he would prefer Kone over Lavia. I don't think that's a wild opinion of yours, to be honest with you. I'm okay with that. I think it's a bit of a toss-up for me. Obviously, what Lavia has on his side is he's 3 years younger than Manu Kone, and he's played in the Premier League before. So he obviously has that sort of ticks in his boxes that Kone doesn't have. But in terms of stylistically, in terms of attributes, yeah, I'm okay with you wanting Kone over Lavia. I'm not going to sit here and argue about that. I think it's a very fair observation. What I do want to say just on Lavia actually as well, obviously there's a Man City angle to all of this because they have a buyback clause on him that I believe comes into force sort of next year sometime. Let me try and get rid of that. Sorry, that won't go for some reason. Anyway, I won't bring the screen up. Now I can. Kevin De Bruyne spoke about Lavia quite recently, and he basically tipped him to become a top player. He was waxing Liverpool about, and this was after he left Manchester City. Obviously, somebody he's trained with quite a lot. Now the screen's moving. We got stuck there just for a second. I just want to find the quotes before I move on. Somebody would have trained with at City, and like I say, City do have that buyback clause that comes into force next summer. So if Liverpool, Arsenal, or Chelsea and the like are going to sign this player, it pretty much has to be now, you would imagine, because I think City would activate that clause. But De Bruyne said Lavia is very good. He's been training with us since the end of last year. This was actually an interview that was last year, so it would have been 2021 now. If he continues his development, I think he'll be a top player. So praise from someone like Kevin De Bruyne is high praise indeed, quite frankly. And I think in terms of Lavia, in terms of his ceiling, I think he's got a very high one. I think he really has. He would be a shrewd addition for the Reds, in my opinion. Matthew Dignam says, hi Dan, I'm a bit skeptical about the Lavia deal. I don't think we'd a player we need. I know he's young, but we need to bring in a 22-year-old that can actually help. Yeah, I think if we had Thuram through the door as well, then I'd be okay with that, because I agree with you on the point about needing a 22-year-old, somebody a bit more experienced, somebody who's going to come in and fix the problems, the many problems we had in midfield last season. Like, I'm not sitting here defending our problems from last year, because it was just ludicrous how poor the midfield was at times last year. But I do also think signing someone that young and sort of future-proofing the midfield, because the problem with the midfield was, in part, that we didn't future-proof it. We let Henderson, Wijnaldum to an extent, Thiago, Fabinho, James Milner, of course, we let them go and go and go and go, with the likes of Naby Keita as a very injury-prone backup. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain the same, and the Arthur Melo signing, which quite frankly was ludicrous, and that's my first, quite frankly, of this show, which is good going for me. But yeah, that was the problem with the midfield. So if we suddenly sign McAllister as a first choice option, Kefren Thuram as a first choice option, and we've still got Fabinho, Jordan Henderson knocking around, obviously Thiago's still there, and then you add someone like Lavia in with the other youngsters, Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Stefan Bajcetic, all of a sudden there's a much fresher look to the entire midfield department. So I don't see it as a huge problem personally. It's Crossbow with a £1.99 super chat, top man. Oh, you've done it again. Szoboszlai. Dominik is his first name, I can tell you that. You've done it again. Liverpool exploring a deal for Szoboszlai. Now, I don't know if you're telling me that's a thing that's happening, or you just want me to pronounce his surname. It's one or the other. Whichever it is, I'd be made up if we signed him, let me tell you. But I haven't seen that link, so I think you're just getting me to pronounce his surname. And thanks. That's massively appreciated, of course. So yeah, just to wrap up on Lavia before I go through some more bits of news. Actually, I want to go through some more chats before I do. Let me just do that. Let's go back to the messages. Here we go. John Sommers says, good afternoon. Thoughts on Reece's move to Aberdeen? Rice certainly worth 50 million in my opinion. Thoughts, Dan? I mean, on Reece Williams, I said on Twitter actually just before, Liverpool obviously gained a very good relationship with Aberdeen. Obviously, we signed Calvin Ramsey from them. We since sent Leighton Clarkson there on loan last year, who's since made a permanent move back up to Aberdeen recently. So clearly there's a working sort of agreement between the two clubs that will help them out with loan players. And for Reece Williams, yeah, I actually think he'll do really well up there in the Scottish Premiership, to be honest, which we know is light years behind in the Premier League in terms of standards. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. It just is. I apologise to any staunch SPFL fans out there, but I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Yeah, I think he'll do really well. I think he'll impress, and I actually think it'll get him a move further down the line, because I don't see him having a huge future with the Reds, quite frankly. And that's just the bare truth of it. Like, that's where I sit on it. Got some more chats to go through. Let's do that. Oh, the Declan Rice thing, sorry, I should say as well, John. He is worth over £50 million. What I will say, and I had a conversation about this morning actually upstairs, was I think he's a £100 million footballer if he had 5 years left on his deal. Now, to my knowledge, and looking at transfer marks, he's only got a year left. So hats off to West Ham if they get 100 million for somebody who's only got a year left on his deal. Because if you were Arsenal or City, maybe not City because they've got a bottomless pit of money. If you were Arsenal, you'd be tempted to say, oh no, we'll just wait. Like, we'll get him for, 40, 50 million in January when you've got to sell him. Or we'll wait till next summer and we'll get him for free. So to sell him for 100 million with 12 months left on his deal is outrageous business from West Ham's perspective. So as a footballer right now, with so little left on his contract, he isn't worth 100 million. He's probably more like 60, 70 maybe. But in terms of him as a footballer, if he had loads of time left, I do think he's worth 100. I think he's superb. And I think he'd absolutely revolutionise Liverpool's midfield, quite frankly. Anyway, next chat. NPBU super chat $1.99 afternoon. Do you see Robbo's role changing? Yeah, that's a fascinating question actually, because I do. I think we're going to persist with the box midfield that we've seen last season, which obviously Trent going into the hybrid role from right back into midfield, which means Robbo has to tuck in as a left-sided centre back, which is why Liverpool want a left-sided centre-back. Like, that appears to be common knowledge now. I think it was David Lynch recently said in one of his reports, a Football Insider, that Liverpool very much have a left-sided centre-back as part of their summer planning. And we wouldn't want that if it wasn't for the role of Andy Robertson changing. And it's a strange one with Robbo, because he spoke towards the end of the season about saying I can still get forward. I just got to pick and choose my moments. And I've said it a few times now. I think you can say that, but realistically, I'm not sure how often you'll be able to get forwards. And that negates so much of what's brilliant about Andy Robertson. Like, his main attributes as a footballer is his relentless, sort of unwavering pace and unwavering energy up and down the left-hand side, essentially. He gets back to defend, he gets forward to influence attacks. His deliveries, certainly on the move, are second to none in the Premier League from the left-hand side, in my opinion. So, sort of taking that out of Andy Robertson's game is losing a hell of a lot of what he offers. And asking him to sort of sit and play as a conventional left-sided centre-back, it doesn't suit him. And it actually weakens us in a way, because he isn't the perfect left-sided centre-back. He's not big enough. I've seen somebody before mention Lavia's issues aerially because he's not massive. Andy Robertson isn't massive either. So if you're going to play with the ball, essentially a flat back three of three centre-backs, you're going to want all your centre-backs to be physically dominant, to be taller than 6 foot, really, if we're going to be honest about it. And Andy Robertson doesn't fit that criteria. So I don't think there's a need to sort of address Andy Robertson's future, because there'll be times whereby he can play that role, and there'll be times whereby we probably play a 4-3-3 again moving forwards, and he'll just play as a normal left back like he always has done so brilliantly. But I do wonder whether we are going to see a shift in that, and signing a left-footed centre-back who can play as a left-back seems to be the ideal solution to it. One more chat before I go back to the rest. Matty Gorman with a super chat of $4.99. Top man, Matty, appreciates it. With Arsenal signing Declan Rice for 110 million, can we all agree that anyone parroting the excuse we can't spend money like City have had their day? I guess so. I guess it depends. We're going to see what else Arsenal do in the window, but they're already bringing in Havertz, aren't they? Like, they are going big. They are doubling down on their season, which Arsenal have always spent, decent chunks of money, haven't they? I make you right about the City stuff, and no one can compete with City when it comes to funds. Newcastle haven't done it yet, but they probably can in terms of their wealth, and PSG, of course. But in terms of the Premier League, nobody can compete with Manchester City, not even Arsenal, despite what you're saying right now. And obviously, they've got themselves into a healthy position when it comes to FFP, when it comes to actually their funds, and their owners are willing to splash the cash right now, and credit to them for it. And I wish we were doing it. Of course I do. I'm not, I want Liverpool to buy football players, just like the rest of you. I'm desperate for us to. I'm desperate for us to fix the problems we had last year coming into this next season. But in terms of Arsenal and their spending, like I said, they've always spent good amounts of money. Obviously, I remember the Mesut Ozil deal. Nicolas Pepe turned out to be an 80-odd million pound flop, didn't he? So it's not out of the ordinary for them to go and spend money. But I guess what you're saying is that, like I say, City aren't the only ones doing it, and Liverpool should be doing it as well, quite frankly. Anyway, let's go through some more of your chats as soon as it starts working again. I'll do exactly that. Here we go. Now we're talking. Why is that not working? What's that say? Oh, that says that. We know about that. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, Muzz says we are getting way too close to the players coming back from pre-season. Klopp said this is when he wants new signings for. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'd look back this week about what Klopp actually said on transfers, and I think in an ideal world he would have all his players through the door before pre-season. But given what's going on this summer and all the targets Liverpool seem to have in the European Under-21 Championships, I don't know if it's possible that we're going to get all our deals done. To my knowledge, that tournament, I think the final's on the 10th of July, possibly the 8th, and Liverpool are back before that. So for argument's sake, let's say Spain and France reach the final. I know Holland are already out. Spain and France reach the final. Suddenly you've got Gabri Veiga and Manu Kone and Kefren Turam all playing in a final. The likelihood of getting them deals done before Liverpool are back in pre-season feels a bit far-fetched to me. But yeah, let's see. Anyway, let's keep going through some things. I want to talk to you about a few more of the possible transfers as well in just a second. Somebody's asked thoughts on the Mbappe signing rumours. Yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere near that, quite frankly, because that is just utter nonsense. Just going to go to the bottom of the chat. It's taking longer than usual because it seems to have paused for some reason. There we go. Now we're talking. Somebody says Rice wouldn't fit Klopp's system. Who said that? Let's call it. Okay. I think he fits any system personally. I think he can do everything. Declan Rice, I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's just boss. Yeah, yeah. I mean, more than entitled to your opinion again, but yeah. LFC Marley says Thuram, Lavia, McAllister, Szoboszlai. That's a midfield rebuild I want to see now. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get 4. I'd take the first 3 off that list, though. I'd take 3 of that 4, quite frankly. But yeah. Anyway, just quick on before I move on to the. Oh, hang on. Football Edit says, when Thiago leaves, I want our midfielders to be Thuram, Kone, or Gravenberch, Veiga, McAllister. Jesus, I didn't realise it was going to go for so long. Kone or Gravenberch. Okay, I see. Veiga, McAllister, Jones, Pacetic, Henderson, and Elliott. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think Thiago is going to leave next summer, isn't he? That was pretty much said by James Pearce this week. I seen somebody mention the cricket as well. England struggling on the green one. Yeah, they were struggling before when I left as well. Aditya Navayanan says, one marquee signing is what I need, and then we can have the youngsters. Yeah, I think McAllister, I said this to Neil Jones actually recently. I said, he's sort of the marquee signing without the marquee price tag. And we shouldn't forget just how boss Alexis McAllister is. Just because he's cost 35 million doesn't mean he's not a 70 million pound footballer. And I've said this a few times around the signing as well. Like, when it was getting sort of muted, he was going to cost 70. Nobody cared. Everyone's like, Sam, 70 million, like, whatever. Nobody batted an eyelid at that. Everyone thought, yeah, he's a 70 million pound player. Just won a World Cup off the back of a brilliant season with Brighton, etc., etc. And all of a sudden he costs 35 million, and people are going to kind of act as if we haven't signed a brilliant footballer who we could class as our marquee signing. I hope he's not. Of course I do. Like, I want to talk about Fede Valverde in a minute. I'd love him to be our marquee signing. I just would. But listen, is it going to happen? I don't know. Anxiety says, rather keep Thiago and Matip for their last year, to be honest. Yeah, it looks like we are going to do that. I wondered whether there might be interest from Saudi Arabia in one of them two, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And I wondered whether if the money came in from that nation and one of the many incredibly wealthy clubs that are there now, I wondered whether we'd be tempted to sort of cash in on those two players. Especially when you factor in the homegrown issues Liverpool are facing ahead of next season, which is something I'm going to talk to Michael Reed about a little bit later this afternoon. That'll be a show at Saturn Plus as well. Craig Adams, I don't know what that means. Warner, 52 off 62 balls. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but whatever, like sound. I've already said, if it's about FSG, I'm desperate for Liverpool to sign footballers. If you want me to sign something that says that, I'll do it for you, mate. I'm not bothered. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to move on to Gabri Veiga now. And this comes from LFC Transfer Room, who have said that Liverpool lead the race to sign Gabri Veiga this summer. Now, it does come from LFC Transfer Room, but their website appears to be having some sort of refurb right now. So it's been moved on to Yard Barker, which is a thing that I've not come across before, but here we are. Yeah, they've got an exclusive source that has told them Liverpool are, and I quote, well ahead of any club in the race to sign Veiga. Incredibly talented 21-year-old Spanish international, of course. He's currently with the Spain under-21 squad right now. And he's on the back of a brilliant season for Celta Vigo. And the Celta Vigo side that really struggled, actually, in La Liga last year. I think he scored 9 goals, got 4 assists. Celta Vigo now managed by Rafa Benitez, of course. So, listen, if he wants to do us a favour and put a little word in with Gabri Veiga about just how boss Anfield is, that's fine by me. And if Liverpool do indeed lead the race to sign him, that's also fine by me, because he's one of the 4 or 5 midfield options we've been linked with who I would love to see become a Red, quite frankly. Yeah, let's just check what this message is here. New Zealand dollars. Oh, here we go. Trent in midfield. Here we go. Brandon Nell. And that's the most crickety name I've ever heard. It really is. 2 New Zealand dollars. I think Trent should play midfield from now on. I don't think we're going to see it personally. I know he did it recently in a couple of England games, but it was against Malta and North Macedonia. I just think we're going to revert to seeing the hybrid role. I said it earlier. I don't think we're going to see him permanently placed in midfield. Could be wrong. There might be games whereby he does it, perhaps, in Europa League games. You might even do it within games in terms of all of a sudden we might bring on Conor Bradley for the final 20 minutes, and it might not be for Trent. Fabinho could go off for Conor Bradley, for instance, and Trent suddenly get moved into midfield. That could happen. Of course it could. I just don't see Trent moving into midfield permanently, quite frankly. But yeah, listen, could be wrong. Been wrong before. Want to touch on the Valverde stuff in just a moment. And basically, it's a report there's two reports from El Nacional Cat in Spain this week, and they're both in Spanish, obviously, but essentially, what the first one says is that Liverpool are ready to make a 90 million offer for Fede Valverde. Now, I won't spend long on this because I'm not entirely sure that that's what's going to be happening this summer, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you. But would I love us to sign Fede Valverde? Yes, absolutely. Like ×5. He would be an unbelievable signing this summer for Liverpool. He would fix so many of our problems. Like we spoke about versatility earlier. He is ridiculously versatile, quite frankly. He would be class. But are we going to spend 90 million euros on him? I have my doubts. Much like I have my doubts about us spending 250 million euros on Kylian Mbappe as well. David, will Kelleher leave? I'm not sure on that one, actually. Neil Jones wasn't sure either this week when he came in for Journal Insight over on Plus. He said Liverpool obviously desperate to keep him. And feels like they might do. And perhaps the offer of more football, obviously in the Europa League, will be enough to persuade him to stay as well. I certainly hope so, because he's a brilliant understudy to Alisson. You're not going to find a better one. In terms of homegrown quotas, he helps that as well. But yeah, and also you don't want to have to go and sign a goalkeeper. Like, we've got enough work to do this summer when it comes to the midfield without needing to go out and sign a goalkeeper. And listen, Adrian is what Adrian is, but I don't want him to be our backup. Like, Alisson has had problems in the past, never sort of long ones. Obviously, he had that calf injury picked up against Norwich in the first game that ruled him out for a period of time when actually Adrian came in and did a good job. But if Alisson was to miss any games next season, I'd much rather it was Kelleher than Adrian filling the gloves, quite frankly. Oh, Ornstein has said that, has he? Okay. So you weren't just getting me to say the surname earlier. Interesting. Sharjun Jutti confirms that Ornstein has just said we are exploring Szoboszlai. Okay, I hope so. I mean, listen, guys, I'm the one talking and you're the one on Twitter and stuff like that. AJ says, fresh news out and we are seeing this waffle. There's no need for waffle. I'll find it. Romano spoke about Veiga as well, has he? God, it's all happening. The agenda's out the window. Let's just see what's going on. I'll pop onto Romano's Twitter for you. Arsenal Declan Rice. Romano's Twitter, by the way, is a minefield. I was going to talk about... I see what you're talking about. I was going to talk about Fabio Carvalho and that Phillips potentially leaving, but scrap that. Exclusive. Manchester City have entered the race for Spanish talent Gabri Veiga after pulling out of the Declan Rice deal. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Like, they are very different players. He's one of the options now being considered by the club. Liverpool and Chelsea remain interested, but City also informed now. Release clause, 40 million euros. Okay. That's not ideal. Quite frankly, for Liverpool's hopes of signing him, yeah, that is not ideal. Not one little bit. While I'm talking, I'll try and find the David Ornstein tweet as well. Oh, is it in the agenda? Thank you. Yeah, there it is. This is exciting. Thank you, AJ. Sorry about the not talk about it. I seen it mentioned. I just thought you were getting me to say his surname. And I thought that was really unfair earlier on. But now I'm with you, and it's fine. David Ornstein as well, no less, everybody. Wow. Okay. Liverpool exploring move for Dominik Szoboszlai of RB Leipzig. LFC met his camp this week, and he's the latest attacking midfielder to be considered. Unclear if it develops due to price, but his desired profile. Unrelated to potential Carvalho loans. Yeah, Carvalho is on the verge of heading to RB Leipzig. I was going to talk about that. Fabio Romano spoke about that earlier. There's no to buy clause in that, essentially. Like, he will return to Liverpool next summer, it feels like. What happens then? Who knows? But looks like we could be going for Szoboszlai in return, which is properly exciting. Like, I'm all over that deal, quite frankly. And it is interesting, actually. Those tie in quite nicely in terms of, obviously, the Carvalho angle, but also the Gabri Veiga angle. Like, if we feel for whatever reason like Gabri Veiga isn't going to materialise into a deal that happens because of Man City's interest, because of Chelsea's interest, or maybe we just see this as a better fit. And while we've been talking to RB Leipzig, we've gone, oh, what about that lad? Like, does that make sense? Perhaps that's what's happened, and perhaps all of a sudden we've gone, yeah, let's sort of try and pull the trigger on this, because that'd be a belting deal, that, wouldn't it? Let's be honest about it. That'd be unreal if we could get that done. 22-year-old, very much part of the RB group. He's a Salzburg beforehand, wasn't he? Like, he's very much one of them. And it's a type of signing Liverpool have done in the past. Obviously, we've got Takumi Minamino, Sadio Mane played for them as well. So Naby Keita to a much lesser extent was a success for Liverpool. Let's put it that way. Szoboszlai, just Szoboszlai anxiety. I'll master it if he signs for us. How about that? I'll do you a deal. Szoboszlai, just like that. I'm not sure about that. Neither is D Rose. Nobody's sure about that. Anyway, I'm sure we'll master it if he does indeed become a Liverpool fan. Might be a Liverpool fan. Everyone is a Liverpool fan. Josko Vodiel is a Liverpool fan. I've just seen him mention him in the chat. That'll probably why. AJ says he will be a quality signing. Yeah, he absolutely would be a quality signing. Yeah, for that attacking midfield, that attacking 8 role on the right hand side, like he'd be. Oh yeah, I'm in for that. Hi, the Mighty Dome. Much appreciated getting involved, mate. Dominik Szoboszlai release clause available for 70 mil only in a case a club submits an official bid until June 30th, is what Romano said. Okay, so Romano's been talking about it as well. So it's got to be before June the 30th in that case. You have to make that bid. So we've got like 2 days left to make that happen. That would explain why we've met his entourage this week then, wouldn't it? Like David Ornstein has said. That could move fast. If Ornstein's tweeting it, like it's not Paul Joyce level. It's not a million miles away either. Like David says, do you think we'll sign 2 or 3 more midfielders? Yeah, I do. Vase of Flowers, Valverde. I've already seen the Valverde stuff. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's 20 million too much. Yeah, it does as well, by the way. Yeah, and it's not going to stop happening. It's not going to stop happening, that. Yeah. What's this one saying? Someone talk about Michael Elise. Michael Elise, 50 million release clause and can be a long-term Salah replacement. Don't know about a Salah replacement, but I really like him as a player. Yeah, I might just... Dominik is just much simpler. I'm not going to call him Big Dom just yet, but I'm happy with Dominik. Absolutely fine with that. No, I think we'll sign someone, Andy Byrne. I do think we'll sign someone else. Anyway, I'll start wrapping up. That's what I need, Ryan. That's what I need. Yeah. There's a YouTube video on how to pronounce his name. Yeah, that'll be me. Not as soon as I'm done here, because I've got a couple more bits to do just yet. But yeah, when I'm finished, I'll check that for you, because next time I come on, I'll have it nailed down. And Arda Güler football edits can be Salah replacement. I've seen some stuff on Arda Güler this week, and I find the latest Romano tweet as well while I'm talking. But I know he's got a really low release clause. I think it's like 18 million euros. I've got the Romano tweet now, yeah. He's like an 18 million release clause, Güler, but I've seen something like his dad wants like that money as well. It feels like a really complicated deal. Like one Liverpool sort of previously wouldn't got involved in. It sounds a little bit messy to me when his dad's asking for a certain amount of money on top of what the fee is. Doesn't feel like something Liverpool would go and get involved in, but listen, I could be wrong. Fabio Romano has also added his weight to the David Ornstein tweet, and he's explained how the exit clause works. It's only valid until June 30th, and it's worth 70 million euros. Yeah, that's mental. So if a bid is submitted later, the clause will only be valid for the winter window. So basically, you've got until the 30th of June to buy him for 70 million euros, which would be like 65 million quid, maybe slightly less, depending on your conversion rate, etc. If you don't do that, you can get there's no release clause. It'll be whatever RB Leipzig demand, essentially. But then back in January, that release clause kicks in again. Interesting. Well, if that's the case, which I've got no reason to believe why it wouldn't be, because Romano is Fabio Romano, of course. And then Liverpool should be going absolutely nuts over the past 48 hours to try and sign him, quite frankly. Like, I say that, maybe the bid can get submitted, Leipzig can accept it, and then personal terms and medicals and stuff like that can follow on after. I doubt you need to get him through the door doing the Axelie and holding up a Liverpool shirt in the next 48 hours, because that's not going to happen. But, yeah, if we can get him for that, yeah, what we're waiting for. Yeah, Dominik, what we're waiting for. Get him in. Yeah, anxiety. We're bidding 40 million on July 1st. And yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Anyway, I had loads of stuff I wanted to talk to you about. I've been through most of it. Leeds want to sign that Phillips. Yeah, he might finally leave Liverpool Football Club, having been promised he will leave every transfer window since the dawn of time. But yeah, let's see. Anyway, I'll just do a quick roundup because it is got thrown out a little bit by the David Ornstein and Fabio Romano tweets. Couldn't they have saved the tweet for like half an hour after I'd finished? I had a lovely little agenda. Anyway, Romeo Lavia. I spoke to Sasha Tavolieri just yesterday, who told me Liverpool will be making an offer for Belgian midfielder Romeo Lavia. Expected to be around £40 million, which is what the buyback clause Manchester City have in place for him next summer is. We could sort of jump the gun and get that deal done, hopefully. He said Liverpool will make an offer. If not this week, then next. They're still speaking to the entourage, etc., etc. What else happened? Liverpool lead the race for Gabri Veiga. Manchester City have also joined that race, according to Fabio Romano. Liverpool are reportedly ready to make an offer of €90 million for Fede Valverde. Tongue-in-cheek. I wanted to speak about Liverpool wanting to sign Victor Oshimhen, but I didn't because that's not going to happen. Liverpool also been linked with Gonçalo Inácio from Sporting Lisbon. That'd be a really good signing. Probably a better one than Mickey van der Ven, in my opinion. Fabio Carvalho is going to join RB Leipzig. Dominik Szoboszlai, I think that was pretty good. Might be heading either way. €70 million Euros release clause, rather, that expires on June the 30th. Get a move on, Liverpool and FSG. Just a few FSG haters out there. And Nat Phillips is wanted by Leeds United. That's all the news I've got. That's everything I've got for you. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for not being too abusive. Thanks for making me say his surname about 10 times. It's been a pleasure, as always. I'll probably see you again very soon. Take it easy.
You could see he had ability, definitely.
The most skillful number 9 Liverpool have ever had.
He was part of one of the greatest teams Liverpool have ever put together.
A legend forever.
Gives everything for the fans and everything for the club.
Everyone to a person said, I love Bobby Firmino.
Great example of hard work, of dedication on and off the pitch.
He's one of them players, he does a lot of things for the team that goes unnoticed.
He's world class.
Já no CRB ele já era visto como uma promessa, mas ele decidiu ir para o futebol da Alemanha.
Hat Hoffenheim als das gesehen, was es ist, ein Ausbildungsverein, ein kleiner Verein, der für ihn den nächsten Schritt ermöglicht für die Seleção, für einen größeren Verein.
I knew sooner or later he will leave the club because he was definitely in for something bigger.
You know, you fly across the world and all of a sudden we're signing this deal that would become incredible for the team.
Firmino had a quiet start at Liverpool.
When Jurgen first came in, and seeing people don't realise how good he is.
The confidence was there, he knew the manager backed him, trusted him.
Bobby was the key that made that team work so well.
Champions League, European Super Cup, Club World Cup, Premier League in the space of 13 months.
He was right at the heart of everything.
Part of the team that brought the title back. That team will never be forgotten.
I'm going to be telling my kids and my grandkids about what Bobby Firmino did at Liverpool Football Club.
He'd be a big miss for everyone.
You had a chance to watch episode 1 of Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, our brand new documentary series. If you haven't, check out episode 1 right now on YouTube. And if you want to watch the full series, head to redmenplus.com. Episode 2, episode 3, and full interviews with all of the incredible contributors, including Liverpool skipper Jordan Henderson. It will be there for you. Go over, fill your summer with Bobby happiness, with Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, our exclusive